Good morning to one and all. So, welcome you all to the national webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition, which is going to start from today to 22nd August 2020. So, I am Dr. Nataraj Durganavar, Assistant Professor, Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, Vijayapura. So it's a great pleasure to share that the Department of Food Processing and Nutrition is organized 1 week national webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition on the current and most relevant theme, so which is now at present. So the Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University was established by the government of Karnataka in the year 2003 in the Vijayapura. So for the promotion of higher education among women in Karnataka, especially the focus on the North Karnataka. So this is the only university for women in the entire state of Karnataka. The Department of Food Processing and Nutrition is started in the university in the year of 2010. So the department offers postgraduate and doctoral degree programs in the food processing and nutrition. So to bring the various outlooks of the nutrition under the single umbrella, so this webinar series has been organized. So now, without further ado, we will start the program. I request Professor R. Sunandama, Registrar, the Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, Bijapur, to deliver welcome address. Madam.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ
ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾ?
ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ. VLC ಕೊಡಿ. ಅದು ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಝೂಮ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಕೊಡಿ.
Okay.
Morning to all participants. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of Karnataka State. It gives me an immense pleasure to grace all of your presence in the interest of organizing committee to this national webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition from 17 to 22nd August 2020, organized by the Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, KSW, Vijayapura. I want to convey my heartfelt welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Onkar Gowda Kakade for gracing this occasion with their presence. It's a great pleasure to welcome Dr. P. Krishnamurthy, Additional Director, National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, New Delhi, for extending their interest in becoming a part of this webinar. I am pleased to welcome the keynote speaker, Dr. Jyoti D., Assistant Director, National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development Regional Center, Bangalore, for accepting the invitation and becoming a part of this webinar series. I wholeheartedly welcome Professor P.G. Tadsat, Registrar Evaluation, and Professor Vijaya B. Korishetty, Finance Officer, to this one-week national webinar series. It is a moment to rethink and refresh upon the problem related to nutrition with our esteemed speakers throughout this webinar series. The webinar schedules brushes up a spectrum of exciting and benefiting themes that discuss the various aspects of nutrition. I wholeheartedly welcome all the speakers for accepting our invitation and going to share their expertise with the participants. I wholeheartedly welcome all the speakers for this occasion, and on behalf of our university, I extend my warm welcome to the registered participants who are the real beneficiaries of this webinar series. I wish grand success to the one-week national webinar series. Thank you. Thank you for one and all.
Sir. Thank you, madam, for your welcoming remarks. Now, I request Dr. Prashant S.J., Associate Professor, Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, to give open remarks for this webinar.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Registrar Evaluation, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women's University, Vijayapura, and the delegates, speakers, and our faculty members and the participants. I welcome you all to the one-week national webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition, organized by the Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women's University, Vijayapura. As you all know that the COVID-19 crisis caused severe disruption to the food and health systems in the world. And coronavirus pandemic is the worst global crisis since World War II. The current COVID-19 pandemic is a major threat to the nutritional status of children under 5 and their mothers, with multiple underlying vulnerabilities such as widespread household food insecurity, high levels of acute malnutrition, high incidence of childhood illness, chronic poverty, and very poor health systems. Okay. On the other side, prevention and treatment services for non-communicable diseases have been severely disrupted since the COVID-19 pandemic began, which would pose severe risk. Therefore, our efforts should be directed to preserve and promote proper nutrition, which must be the part of COVID-19 prevention strategies to build the resilience of individuals and communities. Healthy, balanced diets are the key for boosting the immunity and preventing non-communicable diseases that are risk factors for high COVID-19 morbidity and mortality. Action is needed to ensure this health crisis does not cause a food and malnutrition crisis. Protecting the poor and protecting the poor and most vulnerable from hunger and malnutrition will be necessary for COVID-19 response efforts to succeed. Our Indian food system has uniqueness in terms of the ingredients and foods. The traditional foods have all the power to fight back against coronavirus infection. This webinar is intended to brush upon the traditional foods and how these would benefit in combating against the infection. Hence, this webinar is organized with the aim to gather various problems related to nutrition posed by COVID-19 pandemic in one platform and discuss the ways to resolve and overcome the problems. I wish grand success of the webinar and thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your opening remarks. Now, I request Professor Omkar Gowda Kakade, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, to inaugurate the National Webinar Series.
Disable the setting. Screen share ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಂಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Good morning to all. Registrar Professor R. Surandamma. Additional Director of National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, New Delhi, Dr. P. Krishnamurthy. Assistant Director of NIPCCD Regional Center, Bangalore, Dr. Jyoti. Organizing Secretary, Dr. Renuka Beti. Convener of the program, Dr. Nataraj Durganavar, and all other faculties in the Department of Food and Nutrition, all the resource persons and delegates. Our university has been actively engaged during COVID-19 pandemic situation and the social responsibility in the form of organizing the series of webinars on the issues of COVID-19 to enhance awareness and prevention. The Department of Food Processing and Nutrition is constantly putting its efforts to educate and empower the people in getting right nutrition through various activities such as health camps, special lecture series, and counseling. As the Vice Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women's University, I feel proud to create the National Webinar Series on COVID-19 and nutrition, which is a very relevant in the current global situation. As you all know that the COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis on top of a crisis in parts of the world and is the most adverse peacetime shock to the global economy in a century. With the outbreak of COVID-19, people's ability to access safe, nutritious, and diverse diets are at risk, and health and resilience is under threat. The pandemic is also likely to result in a global GDP fall of 6 to 10%, which would push more people into extreme poverty and malnutrition. COVID-19 severely disrupts livelihoods, especially those of the 1.6 billion people working in the informal economy, with women and youth the hardest hit. It may not be surprising here to note that this disruption of health systems and decreased access to food could lead to an increase in maternal deaths and child mortality each month. Acute malnutrition in children under 5 could rise by 20% due to the socio-economic impacts of 19 on food security, increase each month by 50%. Acute is set to double by the challenges. A comprehensive multi-sectoral approach to nutrition needs to be integrated into COVID-19 response and recovery efforts, especially across health systems, food systems, and social protection systems. I am happy to say that this national webinar will be helpful in highlighting the nutritional problems at regional, national, and global level and provide necessary inputs to overcome this. I'm confident enough to say that the topics chosen for the webinar definitely going to support young minds to think and act in order to sustain their efforts to bring up the community of malnutrition. I would thank for their enormous work towards organizing nationally important and socially relevant webinar in our university. I wish the grand success of this webinar series. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir, for your well wishes for the webinar series. Now I request Dr. Savita Hulumani, Assistant Professor, Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, to introduce our today's keynote speaker, Dr. Jyoti D, the NIPSIT Regional Center, Bangalore. Madam.
Okay. Good morning, dear participants, delegates, and all who are actively involved in this webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition. It's my both honor and privilege to be able to introduce our today's keynote speaker, Dr. G. Jyoti Madam. Madam has completed her PhD in the discipline Food Science and Nutrition from the University of Agricultural Sciences, GKVK, Bengaluru. She is presently working as an assistant professor in NIPSIT, that is National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, that is Southern Center at Bengaluru. Madam has more than 20 years of experience in training and research field. Extensively, she has spent years of experience working in the field of child development, nutrition, women issues in collaboration with government departments and voluntary organizations as a trainer, resource faculty, and evaluator. Madam has organized and conducted training programs, workshops in the area of women and child development. She has also developed training modules and manuals for the purpose of training and capacity building for the officials of government and NGOs. She has been invited as a resource person by different organizations and departments, schools, and educational institutions. She has also presented and published many papers in national and international journals, in workshops and conferences. She has undergone many training programs on different issues related to women and child development. She is also working as a national trainer on infant and young child feeding counseling and IMNCI. She has also involved and coordinated with state governments in organizing training programs, implementing government programs and schemes. This is a brief introduction about the today's keynote speaker, Dr. G. Jyoti Madam. Thank you very much for giving me such an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your valuable speech. Now I request Dr. G. Jyoti Madam to deliver a keynote address for the webinar. Jyoti Ma'am.
Yeah, good morning to all. And thank you, Dr. Savita, for, I think, welcome introduction. And Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Onkar Gowda Kakade, and Professor R. Sunandamma, Registrar, and Dr. Renuka Meti, Chairperson, and Dr. Nagaraj, and respected all dear delegates and students who have been participants of this program. A very good morning to you all. And on behalf of our additional director, Dr. P. Krishnamurthy, and also our director from NIPSID, Ministry of Women and Child Development, I bring greetings to you all from NIPSID. And Dr. Krishnamurthy, our additional director, is not able to be here. So on behalf of him, I would like to welcome again. Thank you all for this, giving me an opportunity to be in collaboration with your organization and to be a part of this webinar series. So thank you one and all. And I wish again, hope that this 5 days or 6 days will go on very successful. And to actually, Dr. Krishnamurthy would like to join sometime whenever he is free during the program. So otherwise, I would like to say a few words about NIPSID, and which is popularly known as NIPSID. It is National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, which is a premier organization devoted for promotion of voluntary action, research, training, and documentation under the domain of women and child development. So it is under the Ministry of Women and Child Development, and it is established in the year 1966. And since then, we have been a nodal agency for training of the ICDS functionaries, and we have broadened our wings, and we had been have established the regional centers all over the country. And for the southern region, we are placed in Bangalore, so we cover all the southern part of the India. And we have for the northeastern region, we have Guwahati, and for Hindi speaking states, we have regional center Lucknow, and for the central part of India, we have the Indore regional center. And recently in 2015, we have started one more regional center in Mohali. So with this broadening, and there are also two more regional centers in pipeline, which is going to be in Jharkhand. So I'm happy that we could associate with you regarding this webinar series. So the top and once again, welcome you all. And I would like to start my presentation on the maternal and child nutrition, which is the topic given to me. Yeah, I had gone through all the topics which are there for these 5 days. I think my topic will give really a foundation where we are talking about the status or the nutritional status of the women and children in our country. And later on, you can go into with the nutritional aspects and the lifestyle disorders, micronutrients, hidden hunger, with all that. I think my topic, I'll be just going to present you on the maternal nutrition and child nutrition. Hello, I'm not able to share the screen. Can you just enable me to share the screen? Hello, Dr. Nagaraj. Can you hear me? I'm not able to share the screen. Yes. Yeah, hope it is visible, the screen. Yeah, now, before going on to the webinar series on COVID-19 and nutrition, so representing the National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development and NWCD, I think it is important to know what is the present status and what the government is doing in terms of maternal and child nutrition. So can I just ask you, like, have you ever thought that the present nutritional status of you all, maybe you're in your young age and adolescent age, or you may be in your middle age, have you ever thought that the present nutritional status of yours or the health status is also dependent sometime way back of your nutrition of your mother, or maybe when what the dietary practices when you were a child, or even during your adolescence, what are the practices you followed as an adolescent? So usually we never think that the present nutritional status which we are had a reflect or have had an impact of our mother's nutrition or our dietary practices during your childhood or the adolescent. Yes, definitely there is an impact of our mother's nutrition when we were in the mother's womb, and also what we had taken, what we had followed, and during our childhood and adolescent. Of course, to add this, there are also environmental factors, and when we come on and when we go on increasing in our age, what are our lifestyle also have an impact on the present health and nutritional status. And I would like to say that maternal health, which is there, the health during pregnancy and even during pregnancy, is a key to saving the lives of more than 500,000 women, because we see that maternal mortality rate and the complications also during pregnancy and childbirth are increasing. And these deaths which are there can be prevented in developing countries like ours with adequate diet, safe water, sanitation facilities, basic literacy, and health services during pregnancy and childbirth. And there's also a link between hunger and malnutrition. Yes, of course, there is a session on your hidden hunger, which talks about micronutrients, but I'm talking about the poverty-related hunger and malnutrition, which have been found to increase both the incidence and the fatality rate of the conditions that cause up to 80%. 80% of the maternally deaths are related with hunger and malnutrition. And our country have been a part of this Millennium Developmental Goal, which is 5, improving the maternal nutrition, where we have 2 targets for these Millennium Developmental Goals, that is to reduce by 3/4 the maternal mortality ratio and also achieve the universal access to reproductive health. So definitely there is a burden of malnutrition in our country from decades onwards. I think since I've been as a student, I've been hearing about this, about the malnutrition. We have studied in our notebooks, textbooks. We have studied even during when we are doing our research and also during our employment. So since then, the problem of malnutrition is, though we had an improvement, but not that heartening improvement we have. And apart from the double burden of the malnutrition, you would have heard about double burden of malnutrition, but along with this double burden like stunting, wasting, and underweight, now we have the anemia also as the third burden, which is increasing in the vulnerable populations. So the vulnerable populations are the children, pregnant, and the lactating women who are affected, and not only their underweight and wasting and stunting, not only physically, but also their cognitive and mental retardation also. And they're also susceptible to infections, which ultimately affects the productivity of the country. And especially at this COVID time, yes, susceptibility to infection is the one which we have to reduce first. And I am not going to talk about the COVID and nutrition, because you have a lot of more sessions to talk related with that. So what is our challenge? Yes, to talk to this hidden about the hunger and malnutrition, then it comes the security, that is ensuring the food and nutrition security is a challenge for our country, where our populations are high and there is a high level of poverty and malnutrition. So the MDG's report, the country report, also had said that in its era, the sustained efforts are required to accelerate the achievement, and particularly related with the food and nutrition security. So these are the 8 Millennium Developmental Goals, and we are talking about the MDG 1, that is eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, then MDG 4 about reducing the child mortality, and also MDG 5 improving the maternal health. Of course, the other are also interrelated and connected. And we have the SDGs, the Sustainable Developmental Goals, which we have to achieve by 2030, have placed the nutrition as one of the most central goal, because 12 out of these 17 SDGs have the indicators relevant to the nutrition. So you can see these are the 17 sustainable development goals, where almost 12 of them have the indicators. Like each sustainable developmental goals have again targets and the indicators to achieve, and they have most of the indicators are related with the nutrition in 12 of these sustainable developmental goals. And now we are with the sustainable developmental goal 2, which I'm going to really concentrate on: zero hunger, so that there's no malnutrition. So what are these sustainable developmental goals? This is a bold, I think our country has made a bold universal agreement to end the poverty and to have the equality, justice, and secure world for people and the prosperity by 2030. And these 17 SDGs have 169 targets, which is signed by 193 countries, including our country. And every state has to have an effective and efficient action plan for achieving all the 17 goals. And for each goal, national indicators are suggested. States have no option but to add their own. Even states can also add their own sub indicators. And states have the freedom to evolve their mechanisms also. And these are the extension of the MDGs. So now India, we have signed the SDGs. We are towards looking forward to achieve these SDGs by 2030. But where is our position? Where do we stand with regard to this health and nutrition of women and children? Are we able to achieve this nutritional status of the women and children? And one side, we are going on to the international space, Chandrayaan, and reaching to the, and we are technologically, we are very sound and have many of those advancements. But what is the population? What is the nutritional status in the rural areas and even in some of the urban slums? So we see the hunger index, which shows really a disheartening or a dismal picture, because our country was at 93 in 2015, which has come to 102, that is, which is placed even below Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. So we have to improve in terms of this hunger index. This global hunger index is being taken with the 3 dimensions and having the 4 indicators. The 3 dimensions are the inadequate food supply, child mortality, and child undernutrition. And 4 indicators have the underweight, again, stunting, wasting, and the under 5 mortality rate. So now, why I've projected this is to know how much important is these indicators of child mortality, child nutrition, that is in terms of stunting, wasting, and underweight. So what does the recent global nutrition report tells about? It also says that 1/3 of the world's stunted children, that is under 5, are in our country, and 38% of the children under 5 are affected by stunting, and 21% under 5 have been defined as wasted or severely wasted, and 51% of the reproductive age women suffer from anemia, and more than 22% of the adult women are overweight. So this is the global nutrition report, which says that, yeah, 21% are wasted and 88% are having severe wasting. So in terms of stunting, our India ranks 114 out of 132 nations. And for wasting, it ranks 120th among the 130 countries. And anemia prevalence among women of reproductive ages ranks around 170 out of 185 countries. So how many years we have to reach by 2030? I think we have another 10 years to go to achieve that target, which is a very high, which we had a very slow increase in the last few decades. And the UN World Food Programme report also says that 1 in 3 Indian children under 5 years will be stunted by 22, going by current trends. And especially now we have the situation of COVID-19. And one of the newspaper recently said that 3 lakh Indian children are going hunger during this COVID-19 situation. And what is a post-COVID-19 situation? We have to really look into that unless and until we act very proactively. And there is also, over the last decade, child stunting, which is a measure of chronic malnutrition, has reduced only at a rate of 1% per year, the slowest decline. And for children 5 years or younger, 19.8% are waist and 42.4% are underweight. And though the numbers are staggering, But with 46.4 million children under 5 being stunted, that is 25.5 million children are wasted and 97 million children being underweight. So if we compare with the developed countries, I think their rates are only 1% of underweight or 2% or nil actually. And along with the undernutrition, we also face the prevalence of overnutrition reflected in overweight, obesity, and also associated non-communicable diseases. So the SDG 2, which we are having to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. So we cannot work in isolation only with improving the nutritional status or with this, but we have to work in with the convergence or with the coordination with the other departments also, where we need to have the sustainable agriculture and supporting the farmers, giving the minimum support, minimum price to them, and not actually having more of this urbanization. I think the COVID-19 situation has brought us and to rethink once again, and we really had to go on into the old, anyway related with the food and the dietary practices and the traditional home remedies, we have gone back. But with the present system, I think with the food systems, we have to even go back to the farming system, which we have, that is the one which we need to have the achieving the food and nutrition security. Yeah, so with this ending hunger and ensuring access by all people, in particular to the poor and vulnerable situations, including infants, to safe nutrition and sufficient food all year around. Yes, food security plays an important role, and we have to end all these forms of malnutrition, achieving by 2025 the internationally agreed targets on stunting and wasting in children under 5 years of age. As per our country, we have implemented the Poshan Abhiyan, where we need to achieve these targets by even 22, and also address the nutritional needs of the adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women, and older persons. So not only with achieving the food and nutrition security of a particular vulnerable group, but also of all the age groups. So this food security plays, there are a number of factors: food availability, food access, utilization, and vulnerability. So sometimes we have surplus food stocks, but even then there is no uneven distribution or accessibility also. And access also is also determined by purchasing power of the household and access to the government programs. So that means we have to look into all these aspects when we talk about food and nutrition security. And we also need to talk about gender inequalities, household food distribution to the women, gender disparities. Yes, these are all the ones which play a very important role when we come bottle down to the household level. And these are the indicators which we have to, which is placed in the, as I told you that in sustainable developmental goals, we have the indicators to achieve, that is low birth weight, reduction in low birth weight, infant mortality rate, underweight, stunting, wasting, BMI, anemia, protein calorie inadequacy, infant and young child nutrition, adequacy in food consumption household, and access to food, government schemes, and food transfers. So maternal and child nutrition, the progress of our country, if you talk, the term maternal nutrition focuses attention on women as mothers, on their nutritional status, as it relates to bearing and nurturing of children. Maternal nutrition comprises anthropometric factors such as pre-pregnancy weight for height and gestational weight gain, as well as intake of protein and micronutrients. So why should we focus on this maternal nutrition? So now our target is to achieve the SDGs, the goals and the indicators to achieve it. So when we have to achieve those goals and targets, which our country has been there, that by 2022 under Poshan Abhiyan and by 2030 for the SDGs. So maternal nutrition plays a very important role, because we see here the first 500 days of life, approximately the first 500 days of life during pregnancy and lactation. So the child is dependent on the mother. And not only that, the poor nutrition during pregnancy, during that first 9 months of pregnancy, there is a almost 35% of the child stunting, that is intrauterine growth retardation. So this intrauterine growth retardation plays an important role on the health and nutritional status of the child, where it impacts even the later life of the child, and which is irreversible. We can, of course, increase the weight gain later on if the child is born little less than 2.5 kg to 2 kgs or 2.2. We can increase the weight and all that. But what about the intrauterine growth retardation? It is actually irreversible kind of a thing which we are giving to the child. And even nutrition plays a very important role even after the childbirth. Like we can see how much the results of these nutrition results even during after birth. So to reduce this intrauterine growth retardation, we have to have the first 90 days right. Yes, that is the first trimester plays a very important role in the life of the child. So diet in the first trimester positively or negatively definitely improves the or influences the birth weight and the length. That is the length of the height of the child later on. And weight gain also from the second to trimester predicts the infant length at the birth. Maybe we thought that the first trimester is not important all these days. First trimester, the mother will be having nausea, vomiting, and the mother will not be able to increase that much weight. But whatever it is, even those we say that 1 kg has to be increased in the first trimester. So that has an impact or predicts the infant length at the birth. And also micronutrient deficiencies, if the mother is anemic or having any iodine deficiency or zinc deficiency, also influences the birth outcomes. And benefit of food supplementation on this birth weight and offspring mortality is higher when started in the first trimester compared at the 20th week. So we have to give the food supplementation, especially to the vulnerable groups, even at the 20th week. So this we say healthy brains, smarter children. That means that first 2 years of the life of the child is very critical, and all the brain development is dependent on the nutrition as well as the developmental activities. Also, the overall, the holistic development of the child is influenced by the nutrition as well as the stimulation activities which we give to the child. So, okay, once the child is being born, and what is the next critical stage of the child? Yes, the first 2 years are going to be more. And we see here where the figure shows that the brain size at the birth, 70% of the adult brain, the child, when we scan the brain of the child, okay, when the child is 1 year old, and when we scan the child brain of the adult person, so the size of the brain and even the networking mechanism which has been in the brain will be almost completed. Like you see, 70% plus 15%, that is 85% of the brain development would have taken place by the end of the first year, and later on the other preschool years, 10% of the brain growth is there. And along with the nutrition, the stimulation activities also play a very important role. So not only on the physical, but also on the cognitive ability, the maternal nutrition plays a very important role. So what are the effects now? What are the consequences when there is a poor nutrition in the uterus and as well as the maternal diet? So it plays a very important role. There are short-term consequences, long-term consequences. There can be mortality also. What are the short-term consequences? Yes, we have, it plays an effect on the brain development, and where it has the long-term consequences on the IQ and cognitive and educational performance. And we have the short-term on the growth and muscle mass, body composition, where now the immunity and the work capacity is reduced on the long term. And there can be other metabolic syndromes which are related with the glucose, lipids, and proteins. And on the adult onset stage, or when during their middle age, they may be prone to diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and hypertension, cancer, stroke, and aging. So these are the adult life consequences, we say, when there is a poor nutrition of the child, whether it is intrauterine or even during the childhood period. The child will have definitely the short-term and the long-term consequences. So what needs to be focused on? Now, when we have come to know that it is important, the maternal nutrition is important. So what's to be focused on? We have to focus on adolescent age itself. Yes, whether anything, now I think the past is past. the older women, when we are trying to change their behavioral attitude, traditional practices, food fads and beliefs. When it is not working, now target the adolescents. Adolescence is a right period now. I think we need to start focusing during this age onwards. From the poor preconception nutrition, yes, we have to make them to have a improved pre-pregnancy weight. Yes, when the child is ready for the marriage, maybe 20 years, 21 years, the adolescent girl, she should not be underweight. She has to have a ideal weight gain. And then even there is also effect on the short stature of the adolescents, and later on leading to the adolescent pregnancy. So 60% of these intrauterine growth retardation causes are linked with the nutrition. So there is a window of opportunity. We have health of the pregnant and lactating women during preconception, pregnancy, and post-pregnancy plays a key role in optimizing maternal and child health outcomes. And 1 in 3 women of reproductive age has body marks below 18.5 and also suffer from iron deficiency. And nearly 2/3 of low birth weight babies have the intrauterine growth retardation. Thus, these malnourished mothers, we say that there is an intergenerational cycle of undernutrition. So that is why we are saying that adolescent age is an important age. So we have 2 concentric cycles which talks about, one is poverty related intergenerational cycle, and one other is the protein micronutrient deficit, which again affects the low birth weight baby, or even on the protein calorie malnutrition deficit. So there are so many factors which are related with intergenerational cycle also. Yeah, I think I will not be going to explain, but one thing we should remember, that once we do not take care during the adolescent period, then it is again going to affect, or even the early marriage, the child marriage, have the consequences on this low birth weight baby or the poor nutrition. So how much the mother has to gain weight? I think the mother has to gain weight by 10 to 12 kgs at the end of the 9th month pregnancy. Yeah, and the first trimester, because of the nausea and the complications, she can increase up to 1 kg, and the second trimester around 5 kgs, and the last trimester again 5 to 6 kgs, which comes up to 12 kgs of weight gain, which she should have. So there is a maternal mortality rate. Of course, this is one indicator which we are looking at, the improvement of the maternal status. So this is the number of women who die as a result of childbirth and pregnancy related complications per lakh live births in a given year. So now coming to the status, what is the maternal mortality rate in the southern region? Of course, country I have given it is 167, which is very high. And compared with the southern region, the Karnataka stands again high at 133. And what about the early marriage, the children who are percentage of women who got married by age of 18? We see here the rural India has 53, the 50% of women are married by the age of 18, and which we can see urban, of course, it is less, and there's not much of decrease from NFHS 1 to NFHS 3. And low birth weight gain, what is the percentage? What is the status of the low birth weight babies? If you see here, as per the NNMB data 2012, again, we see that Andhra Pradesh is 15.5% of the babies are born with low birth weight, followed by the Tamil Nadu, and then the Kerala and Karnataka. So it is interesting to see that how in the low birth weight, the Karnataka has the highest one. It's improved one. So what about the prevalence? Anemia prevalence in the pregnant women, we see that again between 40 to 50% Karnataka is being mentioned here, in between the 40 to 50%, but still we have 11 and almost 21 states, more than 50% of the anemic women. Yeah, there may be many causes of this. It can be due to low iron stores, dietary practices, or iron loss due to some infections, and also maternal anemia. So, there are many causes. The basic causes underlying this is the a graphic presentation by the UNICEF, which they have mentioned that for the maternal undernutrition and the child undernutrition, there are basic causes, underlying causes, and immediate causes for us to act on the nutrition sensitive interventions and the nutrition specific interventions. Yeah, we have the basic causes like household insecurity, economic conditions, employment, poverty, socioeconomic practices, and the underlying causes we have again the inadequate maternal and child care and feeding practices, and the environmental facilities, and inadequate health services. The immediate causes we can see on the effect on the health and nutrition, resulting in inadequate dietary intake and infections and disease, which are leading to maternal undernutrition and ultimately to the child undernutrition. Yeah, we double burden of the malnutrition along with the micronutrients and macronutrients. And this is with resulting the mortality indicators of the children. Like we have, because in our SDG, we are going to look at the under 5 mortality rate. So here IMR, when we see our country, it is 42, and neonatal mortality rate, that is the child dying before 28 days, 29. Perinatal mortality, whether it is the stillbirth or the child immediately within few hours, like 20, under 5 mortality rate 50, and stillbirth rate 5, and child mortality rate is at 13. Yeah, this is with the how far we have improved from NFHS 1 to NFHS 4. If you see here, NFHS 4, except Kerala, all the other states have not much improved. When we look into our country, from 41, we have come to 21 in a period of NFHS 1 to NFHS 4 in a period of maybe 15 to 20 years. So even if you look into Karnataka, from 28, we have come to only 21. And where do we stand in respect of underweight, stunted, and anemic children? Yeah, we have 35.7, and Karnataka is at again 35.2, close to the national. And the least is the Kerala. And again, stunted children, we have 38 in our country and 36 in Karnataka. And anemia, 58.5, and anemic children in Karnataka, 60.9. Yeah, this is with respect to the wasting, and this is with respect to the stunting. I have already showed in from this, and anemia also. Yes, 161 million children are stunted due to chronic malnutrition. 99 million children are underweight, and 45% of child deaths are caused by maternal malnutrition. So there's 45% of child deaths are due to maternal malnutrition. And anemia also resulting from iron deficiency affects 50% of the pregnant women in developing countries. So this is a graphic presentation which shows that how the female literacy, and the poverty and the body mass index and child marriage have an impact on this stunting. So you can see in this graph, there's even these factors, when it goes up, when it goes down, even the stunting levels are also same. That means when there is a female literacy low, the stunting is high. And when there is child marriage is high, the stunting is also high, even with respect to the wasting, and also it is same with respect to the anemia. So what are the key, what about infant and young child feeding? What are the key indicators? And we also have to focus on the not only maternal nutrition, which also in the lactation period. So what are the indicators to be looked into during the lactation period? So what about the exclusive breastfeeding, the practices which are their optimal nutritional practices, which we talk about? Optimal nutritional practices are those having optimal nutrition, optimal health, and optimal environment. Optimal nutrition comes from the maternal nutrition as well as the proper breastfeeding and complementary feeding practices. And optimal health includes the immunization, health checkup, and optimal environment is the hygienic and safe environment to the children. So these are the key indicators which talks about the improvement, the status of the children, and how many children under the age 3 breastfed within 1 hour of the birth. It shows only 41%, and exclusive breast is 54.9% as per the NFHS 4, and receiving the complementary foods at the age of 6 itself is only 42.7. And the mothers breastfeeding children along with the breastfeeding receiving adequate diet is only 8.7%. So that means we should say that there is the diet diversity in children remains low, though there is a food availability. Though if there is no food availability, it's a different thing. But here it shows that though when there is a dietary diversity, food availability, but the dietary practices are in such a way that the children do not have diet diversity in their diets. So with this present status, what does the government of India has taken the many reforms and safety net programs to improve the delivery on nutrition and food security targets. And for that, they have launched the National Food Security Act 2013. And there is a strategy, National Nutrition Strategy. And we have the National Nutrition Mission, the Poshan Abhiyan, which aims at, because we have seen how many factors are there to improve the nutritional status, with so many convergent approaches which are necessary for this multidimensional nature. So there is a National Nutrition Mission, and so we expect that in future, that with this positive policy environment and government efforts to address this malnutrition and food insecurity, has the potential to accelerate towards this SDG 2, and also devised many national nutrition interventions programs under different government ministries. We have the nutrition specific interventions to address the immediate causes of malnutrition, which I have talked to you about the underlying cause, basic cause, and the long-term causes, and nutrition sensitive interventions, and also achieving an enabling environment for all these interventions, having the poverty reduction strategies, governance capabilities, and disaster crisis management and environmental safeguards. So, of course, yeah, I am not going to talk about the Food Security Act, but I just want to say that how our government of India has been shifting from the development, from welfare to the development to the right-based approach. So National Food Security Act, which is there, is a right of the woman or the child to have this approach, or to have the supplementary food, which is, that means they're legally entitled for these food security programs which are in our country, and they are no more beneficiaries, but they're the right holders of all these entitlements, whether it's a midday meal scheme, whether it is an Anganwadi service scheme, or a public distribution system where they are eligible for ration. So it is their right to have all this. So this also features the support to women and children, and where pregnant women and lactating mothers in the age group of 6 to 14 years will be entitled under this, and higher nutritional norms have been prescribed. And there is also maternity benefit, which has been mentioned in this Food Security Act, that is pregnant and lactating are entitled for this maternity benefit of rupees 6,000. That is under the Pradhana Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. Subsequent to this, it was launched, where 5,000 rupees are being given to the pregnant mother as a direct benefit transfer, and 1,000 from the Janani Suraksha Yojana from the health scheme. And we also have the woman empowerment as a strategy, where the eldest women of the household of age 18 years are above to be the head of the household for the purpose of this issuing of the ration cards. And of course, nutrition security is through, again, can be achieved through National Cooked Midday Meal Program, Anganwadi services, adolescent girl program, and Pradhana Mantri Gramodaya Yojana. So therefore, government is implementing all these several schemes and direct targeted interventions to address this problem of malnutrition. And all these schemes address one or the other aspects related to nutrition, and have potential to improve the nutritional outcomes of the country, where now the ICDS program has brought under the umbrella ICDS, where there is a convergence of all these programs working together, like Anganwadi services. Now it is no more called ICDS program, it is called the Anganwadi services scheme, because it is brought under the umbrella ICDS. And we have the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana for the pregnant and lactating mothers, and National Care Scheme for the children of working and ailing mothers. We have the scheme for adults and girls, where there is a nutrition and non-nutrition component, and also nutrition to the children. We have the child protection and Poshan Abhiyan, which focus on the first 1,000 days of the life, which I have shown you in the previous my slide, that the first 500 days where the child is entirely dependent on the mother, and later on again giving importance and having the sustained interventions till the child is 2 years. And after completion of 1 more year, if these interventions are continued, and later on, once the child is 3 years, the child will come to the platform of Anganwadi services. So therefore, this first 1,000 days of the maternal and child nutrition is a make or a break time, which is very important and which we have to really act on. So these are the targets under the Poshan Abhiyan, which we have to achieve by 2022. We don't know, because of this COVID situation, whether these targets may be increased to 2023 or 25, but whatever it is not the time limit, but it is the effect on the children. So we have to act upon preventing and reducing the stunting of the children by 6%, and reducing the undernutrition, anemia, and also anemia among women and adolescent groups, and low birth weight, which are the main target indicators even to achieve the SDG 2 and the global hunger index. So these are the components which are mentioned in our Poshan Abhiyan scheme. We have the convergence action plan with the ICDS computer application software, and we have the behavioral change communications with community-based events and Janandolans and incentives, innovations, training and capacity building. I think this itself will take a long time to explain about the Poshan Abhiyan, its components, and what are the nutrition key strategies and interventions in this Poshan Abhiyan. We have from all the stages, like from the pre-adolescent age onwards till the child reaches to the 3 years. And of course, we have again midday meal scheme where the child is brought under these nutrition interventions. So we have the preventive programs and strategies to prevent this malnutrition. Yes, where we have the dietary diversification, that is, we have the dietary approach, we have the clinical approach, and we also have the health services and food fortification, which we can achieve this. Yeah. So in spite of all these nutrition programs, food security, but convergence by all the programs is very much important. Yeah, this is unless and until all the programs, all the departments together nurture, then we cannot have the fruits, or we cannot see our future generation a healthy generation. So all the convergence, so we do not mean the convergence means having meetings with all the departments, having convergence action plans on the document, but working together. We can say that a convergence is successful when we see the fruit on the tree. That means a benefit to the household, an improvement in the nutritional status of the woman or a child. Then we can say the convergence is successful. Convergence is not successful that there is a meeting in an AC hall, or there was a well-planned document which has been released by the convergent members, but it is when we see the result in the household level that we can say that the convergence is achieved, and then we can achieve this ambitious sustainable developmental goals to reach our targets by 2030. So definitely we need all together work towards this, achieving the food and nutrition security and interventions, and especially, which is more important during this COVID-19 situations, working on these outcome monitoring indicators which we have towards towards the target. So of course we have challenges, but I think when we are all proactive with one common agenda and having the fruits, looking into the fruits, I think then we can really have quality service delivery. Though it's a challenge, where there is a challenge, we have the opportunities to work, and where information advocacy, convergence, of course there's problem even the database. There are so many apps, there are so much of technology, there are so many institutes and educational which are having the data, but we need to have a common platform to have the one data, and also action of all of us concerted effort towards achieving these goals. So this is with regard to the maternal nutrition. Yes, our Pradhan Mantri Nehru, he had said that we can know the status of the nation by the status of the woman in the country. Yes, and Nelson Mandela also has talked about that we can know the country's situation by knowing the situation of the children in that country. So that is what is the importance of situation of women and children in the country, and we should never treat them as a weak or any kind of a status, or as a social, though there are having many social problems, we really need to have this. And even with this, in the Independence Day speech, Pradhan Mantri Modi ji had talked about, from the women development to the women-led development. So that is one high thinking, we can say, that where first of all, we have to have the women development, from welfare to the development, and from the development to the women-led development, where women can lead. That means as the success of the nation or the progress of the nation definitely depends upon the women-led governance or women-led household. So with these few things, I end my presentation, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share about the status and talking to you all this. Thank you one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for your valuable inputs on the maternal and child nutrition. So thank you, madam. Now I request Dr. Renuka Meti, Chairperson, Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, to deliver presidential remarks about the webinar. Renuka ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Omkar Gowda Kakade. Respected Registrar Madam, Professor Sunandama Madam. Respected Registrar Evaluation, Professor PG Tadsat Sir. Respected Finance Officer, Professor Korishetty Madam. Distinguished today's Chief Guest, Dr. Krishnamurthy in his absence, Additional Director, NIPSID, New Delhi, and Dr. Jyoti G, Assistant Director, NIPSID, Bangalore. Delegates from all over India, and my dear staff and students. Today's webinar series inaugurated by Dr. Jyoti Madam, who spoke very exhaustively on maternal and child nutrition. Her speech on maternal and nutrition were very exhaustive and very informative, Madam. Thank you on behalf of our university, Women's University. We would like to have a continuous support from NIPSID and from the Women's University in future. Madam, you spoke a lot on, yes, Madam, hunger index of India, that is 2019 detail you have given. Then stunting problem, what we are facing right now. I think Women and Child Welfare Department, they are focusing on stunting and rate of stunting and prevalence of stunting and how to overcome the stunting through their programs. And you spoke exhaustively on food security and nutrition security and malnutrition and its cause for malnutrition on intergenerational effect. It is not just one single, but it is intergenerational. That was a very beautiful aspect you explained. And you also dealt on anemia and micronutrient deficiency and zinc deficiency, how it affects maternal nutrition and childbirth. Then dietary practices. Above all, when we talk, we have a lot of food availability is available, but only thing is ignorance, maybe lack of education, maybe the low dietary practices that makes people unaware of taking the balanced diet. So what is very important being a nutritionist is balanced diet, consumption of balanced diet on daily basis. Once in a, it is not the consumption of daily balanced diet in once in a while, but on daily, on regular basis, eating a balanced diet, which really keep away the malnutrition in India. Madam, thank you very much for your enlightening speech. And today onwards, from 17th to 22nd, we have different topics on COVID-19 and nutrition, hidden hunger. So we have opened the very beautiful session, Madam. Today, Dr. Shilpa, she'll be talking on COVID-19 and hidden hunger, challenges, actions, and future prospects. Then tomorrow we have a food for life, survive first and sustain next. That will be dealt by Dr. Usha Devi, Madam, Associate Professor, Bangalore. Then on 19th, we have healthy eating habits during stay at home by Dr. Vijayalakshmi D, former Professor, Department of Food Science and Nutrition, GKVK. Then we have traditional foods regaining strength during COVID-19 crisis on 20th. Dr. Suma Divakar. That will be dealt by Dr. Suma Divakar, Professor and Head, Department of Community Science, Kerala Agriculture University. Then on 21st, we have a nutrition transition and COVID-19 pandemic. This will be dealt by Dr. Sangeeta Pandey, Associate Nutrition Dietetics, Bangalore. Then dietary recommendations on 22nd, that will be dealt by me. So thank you once again for all our delegates and students. Thank you.
Presidential speech, and you highlighted the main key points and the key topics for the next upcoming sessions. So we came at the end of the session, that is the vote of thanks. So I take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Omkar Gowda Kakde, for inaugurating the webinar program. So I am very much thankful to the Registrar, Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, Professor R. Sunandamma, Professor P.G. Tarsat, Reji, the Finance Officer of Karnataka State Akkamahadevi Women University, for being a part of this webinar program. I sincerely thank our keynote speaker, Dr. G. Jyoti, Assistant Director, NIPSID, Regional Center, Bangalore, for giving session or the lecture in this webinar. Thank you, madam. And I extend my great thanks or gratitude to Dr. Renuka Meti, madam, the chairperson, Department of Food Processing and for presiding over the function. I'm thankful to Dr. Prashant S.J., Associate Professor, Dr. Savisar, and Ms. Jennifer Saulam, Assistant Professor, Department of Food Processing and Nutrition, for extending their support to this webinar program. And my thanks also goes to the technical committee members, Mr. Sandeep, Assistant Professor, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, and the coordinator, so I my sincere thanks to all the resource persons who are being a part of this webinar program and who accepted our invitation and a part of this webinar program. And lastly, but not least, I'm very much thankful to all the participants who have registered in this program and who are the real beneficiaries of this webinar program. So thank you, one and all. Immediately after this, the technical session will start, which is the topic of technical session is on the COVID-19 and hidden hunger, the challenges, actions, and future prospects. So Dr. Shilpa H., the scientist, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Krishi Vignan Kendra Hagari, Ballari. So the madam is going to take over the technical session. Before start the technical session, I would like Dr. Shilpa H. is present working as a scientist, food science and nutrition at Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Krishi Vignan Kendra Hagari, Ballari, Karnataka. So she continues to inspire by Department of Science and Technology, so in the stream of science and nutrition. He has published many research papers in the international, got many awards. Main important awards are more award is the Women Scientist Award at International Conference on Innovation and Current Advances in Agriculture. It is held at Bangkok, Thailand. So we are very much grateful to the Dr. Shilpa H for being here for the technical session. So, Madam, please welcome to the technical session.
Thank you, Nataraj.
Okay, ma'am.
Now I'm going to
Shall
share my screen. Shall I share my screen?
yeah, yes, ma'am.
Nataraj, there is some technical issue. I'm not able to share the PPT. Can you hear me, Nataraj?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you able to share, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I think someone else is sharing. Nataraj,
Yes, ma'am.
I think someone else is sharing.
Wait, ma'am. I'm checking.
Okay. share ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
And now can you see?
Just a minute. No. Anyway, I am uploading my PPT to your this thing mail. You can just open. Huh? Is that okay?
Yeah, madam.
Yeah, just a minute. Nataraj, have you received my mail? Dr. Nataraj? Hello.
Madam, you can start the presentation. Madam, please unmute.
Technical problems.
Madam, screen has been shared. You can start.
Okay. ನನ್ನ ರೆಸ್ಟೋರೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಹೌದಾ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾರೆ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ Good morning to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Akkamahadevi, and respected Registrar, Professor Anandama, and Additional Director of Dr. Krishnamurthy, sir, the Chairperson of the Food Science and Nutrition Department, and then Dr. Jyoti ma'am, and it's COVID-19 and hidden hunger, challenges, actions, and future prospects. Dr. Jyoti ma'am has already briefed the two major important vulnerable categories being mostly affected by malnutrition, that is mother and children. So in this presentation, I'm going to cover what is hidden hunger, its definition, and deficiency symptoms of micronutrient malnutrition, conceptual framework on how COVID-19 impacts malnutrition, and government initiatives to cope up malnutrition, and also threats of COVID-19 on maternal and child malnutrition, and how malnutrition can be addressed during COVID-19 situations, and KVK's interventions to sustain the livelihoods and increase the income of the farmers and farm women, and lastly, conclusion. So coming to the introduction, the COVID-19 pandemic immediately threatens food systems, particularly for vulnerable populations, and in long run will challenge the world's ability to reach the sustainable development goals. UNICEF has warned in its recent report that a staggering 1.2 million additional children under 5 could die in just 6 months. in low and as well as in middle income countries due to reduction in routine health services as well as increasing child wasting and India could be born by India could in India more than in India, more than 3 lakh children could die due to malnutrition. Though government is struggling to provide staple foods to vulnerables as well as migrant laborers and micronutrient malnutrition, but micronutrient malnutrition is on the go, which may cause serious damage on the nation's health as well as on the economy. Now, let us see what is the definition of hidden hunger. Hidden hunger can be defined as deficiencies in essential micronutrients, especially vitamins and the minerals in individuals or populations which negatively impact on health, cognition, function, survival and economic development. And why it is called as hidden hunger? While clinical signs of hidden hunger such as night blindness due to vitamin A deficiency, goiter due to the inadequate intake of iodine become visible once the deficiencies become severe. Until then, they are not visible. The health and development of much larger share of the population is affected by less obvious invisible effects. That is why micronutrient deficiencies are often referred to as a hidden hunger. So this picture shows the cycle of hidden hunger, poverty and stalled development. So hidden hunger not just affects individual, but it also affects nations' economic development. So coming to the individual, can give birth to a low birth weight children, and malnutrition also diminishes physical and mental capacity, and poor school performances, poverty, limited economic resources, and more than 2 billion affected in the worldwide by hidden hunger. And labor force are their capacity will be reduced to work, and lower paid jobs and low productivity and lower life expectancy, lower lifetime earnings. And coming to the national economic development, stalled or diminished economic development and also limited capacity to develop health and educational system. So these micronutrients, that is vitamins and minerals, are essential for many functions and health. Vitamins and minerals are needed in very, very small amounts, but are very, very essential. They are essential for normal brain growth, healthy aging, good performance, healthy babies, strengthening the immune system, and for normal growth, and for overall good health. And these nutrients cannot be produced by the body, and we have to consume them or get them through our diet. Common micronutrient deficiencies are listed here. Iodine deficiency, the effect is on brain damage in newborns, reduced mental capacity in goiter, and iron, that is anemia, impaired motor and cognitive development, increased risk of maternal mortality, premature births, low birth weight, and low energy. Vitamin A deficiency is also a severe concern. So it causes visual impairments, blindness, increased risk of severe illness and death from common infections such as diarrhea and measles. And zinc deficiency, it weakens the immune system more, and the persons who is deficient in zinc will get the infections more frequently, and it also leads to stunting. So hidden hunger is high in India when compared to the other parts of the world. And micronutrient deficiencies, the hidden hunger, affects over 1 in 4 people in India. And this is the figure showing the percentage, the variations, state variations in the malnutrition. The percentage of women who are too thin in is particularly high in Bihar, that is northern states, Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. And malnutrition levels are low in Delhi, Punjab, several other small northeastern states. And the percentage of women who are overweight or obese is high in Punjab, followed by Kerala and Delhi. And anemia prevalence among women and men by residents is shown in this figure. Anemia prevalence levels are more than 2 times higher among women than in men, with almost half of them with moderate to severe anemia. The prevalence of anemia is marginally higher in rural than urban areas, but anemia is a common problem both in urban as well as in rural areas. More than 50% of women in urban areas are anemic, with almost a third of them with moderate to severe anemia. Anemia prevalence among pregnant women, when compared with the non-pregnant women, prevalence of anemia among pregnant women is slightly higher, and the prevalence of moderate to severe anemia is higher among the pregnant women. And you can see the pictures of vitamin A deficiency, that is xerophthalmia, and follicular hyperkeratosis of vitamin A deficiency, riboflavin deficiency, angular stomatitis, glossitis, and chillosis. And this is the this deficiency symptom of pellagra, hand dermatitis, this is niacin deficiency, and iron deficiency anemia, that is paler skin, tachycardia, and the low hemoglobin levels. Thiamine deficiency leading to dry beriberi and as well as wet beriberi. Coming to the conceptual framework on how COVID-19 impacts malnutrition. So COVID-19 induced malnutrition is combination of three different systems, that is economy, food system, and health system. COVID-19 has made a major impact on economy. It has reduced the incomes, it has increased the food prices, and migration has been migration is more due to COVID-19, and social protection is also reduced, and food system, retail and markets have been affected, food supplies are affected, food demand has been increased, premix supplies are decreased due to lockdown situation. And these two are leading to hunger and food insecurity, access to nutritious foods, and poverty and inequality. And coming to the health system, COVID-19 has also affected health system. Health and nutrition services have been affected. So the majority of the health services are concentrating only on COVID-19, but the other health situations are being neglected. Health and nutrition supplies are being decreased due to COVID-19 situation. So this has led to coverage of nutrition-specific interventions, prevention and treatment of infections, and hygiene. And the economy and food system, reduced economy and reduced food system has to the reduction in the quality of the diet, as well as reduced health system, which led to the illness, and these two are responsible for all forms of malnutrition in the country. Now, coming to the migration. So, the COVID-19 pandemic further worsened India's hunger and malnutrition status. COVID-19 associated lockdown has suddenly made visible the poverty and vulnerability of the millions of migrant workers. Their informality is not limited to their workplace back in their rural homes where they are headed now. They are also informal laborers and farmers. These landless laborers, tenants, and small farmers are the rural producers, and they are the city makers, and they are urban manufacturers and service providers who fed the nation and take care of the citizens in the together constituting more than half of India's population. This group, however, remains ultra vulnerable to the hunger as well as hidden hunger. They are hardest hit with the women and children during this pandemic situation. COVID-19 threatens maternal and child health directly and indirectly. So the first health benefit for the infant that comes to mind is the first shot at immunity and nutrition is breastfeeding. So this COVID-19 has disrupted the breastfeeding practices. If the mother is COVID-19 positive, there are a possibility of detaching the baby from the mother, though it is not advised. COVID-19 and the mother's milk. Okay. So the COVID-19 pandemic is already indirectly threatening breastfeeding practices, that is early initiation and as well as exclusive and continuous breastfeeding. And universal breastfeeding could prevent 8,23,000 child deaths per year. So that's why breastfeeding is a very important immune booster in one's life. So the pandemic has also raised concern about whether mothers with COVID-19 can transmit the SARS virus to their infant through breastfeeding. According to the recent study, mothers with COVID-19 infections are unlikely to pass the virus to the newborn, and the government must take inadequate measures to adequate measures to ensure that ANM support new mothers as well after the deliveries. And we all know that breast milk is the cheapest source of nutrition and immunity booster. So breastfeeding should be encouraged. Coming to the government initiatives to cope up the situation, economic relief package and social security measures have been taken. Distribution of dry rations and uninterrupted supply of staple foods, vegetables and fruits, and take-home rations under ICA schemes were provided. And Prime Minister's Kisan Samman Yojana has been it was active during COVID-19 period. And also M-Narega scheme, it has also trying to tackle the unemployment in rural areas in the wake of restrictions on account of COVID-19. So coming to the strategies for addressing micronutrient malnutrition. So if we diversify the diet, we are able to address the hidden hunger, and fortifying the staple foods, biofortification, supplementation and behavioral changes can address the hidden hunger. So fortifying the staple foods which we eat like rice, wheat and jowar, those kind of foods can be fortified with the essential micronutrients to tackle the hidden hunger situation. So this food fortification is a process of adding micronutrients, that's essential trace elements and vitamins to food. It can be carried out by food manufacturers or by governments as a public health policy, which aims to reduce the number of people with dietary deficiencies within the population. And coming to the biofortification, so it is the process by which the nutrient density of the food crops is increased through conventional plant breeding and or improved agronomic practices and or modern biotechnology without sacrificing the characteristics that is preferred by the farmer or the consumer. So biofortification can be done in the staple foods like rice, wheat, pearl millet, maize and beans. And supplementation. Supplementation is a process where the additional nutrients will be given to the vulnerable in the form of capsules or tablets or in the form of powders or in the form of syrups. So in India, iron and folic acid supplementation is being given to the vulnerables, that is to the pregnant as well as lactating mothers, and also to the children. And also vitamin A prophylaxis program is also there in India to come over the deficiencies in terms of vitamin A. And behavioral changes need to be done. That is breastfeeding practices again. So we should educate the young mothers to breastfeed the babies. As Dr. Jyoti ma'am has mentioned, there is very less. That is almost 40% of the mothers are breastfeeding the babies. So it has to be increased. And investing in wash practices, that is safe water, sanitation, and hygiene practices, is very, very important at this crisis. And preference should be given to the locally grown foods. And to address immediate, we must scale up known effective programs and interventions. That is, again, the exclusive breastfeeding, promotion of healthy and diverse diets, and behavioral interventions such as promotion of exclusive breastfeeding. And countries which are currently working on a phasing out of those high dose of vitamin A supplementation for young children may need to reconsider this decision during this pandemic. So iron and folic acid should reach the vulnerable timely. And coming to the food system approaches, price polishes and cash vouchers shown to be effective tools to change dietary patterns. And these interventions can make micronutrient dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, and more affordable and accessible to urban and rural population. New promising context specific and targeted interventions can be made available to vulnerable families. And coming to strengthening small farm diversification and local food value chain, a small farm more labor while intensifying and diversifying production system in small areas. They can easily shoot up upgradation of pulses, millet, tubers, vegetables, and fruit, and also livestock products like egg, milk, and meat. So availability of these foods can boost the nutritional status of the women as well as children. So post-COVID agriculture package. So, post-COVID agriculture package announced by the government can be made nutrition enabled, promoting local production and value chain development around nutritious foods, and thereby generating more formal employment and income to the local farmers as well as the self-help groups and the farmer producer organizations. With nutrition orientation, micro, small, and medium enterprises can boost up productions along local nutrition value chains in rural India and thereby improve access to safe, nutritious diets while also creating the local avenues for employment. So, managing food waste and food losses. Approximately 1/3 of the food produced is lost or wasted in value chain. During the ongoing crisis, such food loss or wastage across the value chain must be minimized. Lockdown drastically affected marketing of food produced by the small holder farmers. To solve this kind of problem, central and state governments can introduce local procurement and distribution of channels of midday meals and integrated child development services and supplementary nutrition programs. So in this way, we can manage the food wastage and food losses. Coming to the IT-enabled monitoring for evidence-based policy. So data from NFHS and Comprehensive Nutrition National Nutrition Survey, that is CNNS, revealed that malnutrition is leading inhibiting factor for healthier India. So morbidity, mortality are rising from infectious diseases. They will hamper the country's GDP and economy and subsistence living of the poor. And now it is time to coordinate building a robust IT platform to collect and consolidate relevant data with focus on vulnerable, for informed decision making and inert sectoral synergy. Coming to the future prospects, the micronutrient community should take 3 steps to ensure all people have access to micronutrients at levels needed to promote health and prevent disease during the pandemic and beyond. The global nutrition and development community must promote effective programs and policies that we know work and invest in integrated food systems approaches that address all forms of malnutrition, including micronutrient deficiencies. And we must collect data to monitor the impact of our interventions, to further build the evidence base, and to inform and fine-tune future policies. And now I would like to share the KVK's interventions to sustain the livelihoods of the farmers and farm women. So we have nutrition gardens as demonstrations in farmer fields. So every year we take up 30 to 40 nutrition gardens as demonstrations in farmers fields, as well as in the premises of the farming households. So wherein we provide all the vegetables and as well as fruit trees, small trees to enable them to get the proper micronutrients from those crops. So we also provide them chia and amaranthus. So these chia and amaranthus are considered as the super seeds. So they are rich in micronutrients as well as proteins. So we are also promoting the production and consumption of chia and amaranthus in our district. So in this pandemic, we have also helped the farmers in adding the value to their produce. Like we have given trainings to the SSG self-help groups particularly to convert their fig into value-added products. This is a huge success, which I can say. Figs, like during lockdown period, farmers were unable to sell their produce to the market due to interrupted transportation facilities. So we have intervened we have made them to convert their produce into value-added products. So now the whole village has taken this value addition process, and they are producing more than 1,000 kgs of these fig bars in a day, and they are earning quite a good amount of money. And we are also promoting mushroom cultivation, which is again a very nutritious food. That is, milky mushroom production is being popularized in our district. So more than 15 farmers are in the process of production of milky mushrooms in the district, and we have also added the value to the milky mushrooms, and from this also the farmers are getting good benefit. And here I would like to tell one important point, that is backyard poultry farming. It has not affected due to COVID-19 induced food crisis, because the farmers who were backyard poultry farming, if they cannot sell the eggs and meat, they eat it themselves. So they are getting more food by having the backyard poultry farming. So coming to the end, policymakers and researchers alike are operating in a unique state of uncertainty, and those working on nutrition may struggle to get their voices heard in the fog of war against COVID-19. It is now more critical than ever that multi-sector nutrition groups advocate and support key actions to protect nutritionally vulnerable groups. This is high time our healthcare programs also realize that this battle against the pandemic is long-term struggle and we should adopt strategies to it. Whether we can win or lose the battle against COVID-19, we could lose numerous lives of children due to preventable causes such as acute malnutrition and hidden hunger, diarrhea, pneumonia, and other infections. Macronutrient supplementations, infant and young child feeding practices, nutrition counseling, food distribution mechanisms, these should be strengthened. And treatment interventions for severely acute malnourished children as well as moderately acute malnourished children at nutrition rehabilitation centers should be redesigned. And MAM children should be treated with targeted supplementary feeding programs. Malnutrition is not a condition which will wait for the virus to end its game. It will worsen the woes of children and women unnerved by the invisible virus and threaten their survival. So, time to save the lives of millions of children trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty and malnutrition, complicated further by the COVID-19 challenge. So, this is end of the presentation. And I thank all the conveners and organizers for giving me an opportunity to speak on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Shilpa, for their informative speech on hidden hunger and the challenges, actions, and progress. So they have highlighted the whatever the initiatives which are taken by the in their premises. So I thank and the PPT, the PowerPoint presentation of been sent to the respective email address of the participants. So you can, for the more information, you can go to the that PPT or the PowerPoint presentation. So now the session will end, and tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. the new session or the another technical session will start. That is on food for life, survive first, and sustain next. And the topic is delivered by Dr. Usha Devi. So now we will end the session and the PPT will be given to or sent to your respective email IDs. Okay. Thank you all for participating in the webinar program and hope to see you tomorrow.